Hi, this is Byron Stripling again with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra, and I'm pleased that this week, January 27th and 28th, we will be at the Lincoln Theater in downtown Columbus celebrating the music of Ray Charles. And this is especially an incredible night and evening for me, as we've been rehearsing with two musicians who are sitting next to me who actually got to perform with Ray Charles. First, Sarah Morrow right here, and Roger Hines. And as I think of the music of Ray Charles, for me there was always this yearning quality about him. And when I first heard Ray, it was almost like, I'm only an outsider on this, and you guys are the professionals. You sat there night after night. But for me, as I said, I felt this yearning, this longing, and I've been listening to interviews and reading books, and you know, he lost his mother at such an early age, and he said to him that was the greatest person in the world for him. And I think he took that pain and that suffering and he put it in the music. Did you hear that in his music too? Did you hear that sort of, or did you hear the joy?
Well, I think first what I heard was healing. It was a lot of medicine.
Right.
You know, so you're right. I think he took all of that pain and he turned it into something positive for all of us.
Right, right.
So, and it was also something very spiritual. Very, very spiritual.
Now, in your experience, how many women had been playing with the band before you got there?
Well, I was the first woman who was in the...
You better hush, girl! So you were the first woman that...
Right, but I would like for it to be known that actually Melba Liston,
yeah,
the great trombonist and arranger, recorded with him back in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But she wasn't allowed to be in the band.
No way.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So how were you treated when you first, you walk on the bus, there's all these guys, there's some Raelettes,
yeah,
but there's all these guys. Do the guys mess with you? Were they cool?
Well,
Did they cool their language out?
Yeah, I think at first everyone was scared. You know, what do we do? And then everyone had to find where the boundaries lie.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, Mr. Charles made it clear to everyone, hey, if you mess with her, you have to speak through me. So.
Right.
So I was protected a little. It's good.
Musically, was there anything in particular that you learned from him? Did he ever speak to you? Did you ever have solos during the?
Yeah, I was one of his featured soloists,
right.
actually.
Did he ever tell you how to play, or did he ever? What was that like?
Well, he didn't really tell me how to play. He just encouraged what I was doing. But from him, I learned a lot about spacing.
Right.
You know, and silence. And as Roger can speak to even more, is that to be able to play with him, you have to be able to play at extremely slow tempos.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. There's like boom, and then you wait for half an hour, and then there's another boom. Like
Yeah,
called
exactly.
the death march. That's the tempo. Yeah.
That's great stuff. I want Roger to share a couple things. Roger, I've seen videos with you playing on YouTube with the band, so many things. It's really historic, the period that you spent with Ray. And you actually had some times alone with him, or it was just you and him at the piano rehearsing. What were those times like for you?
Those are pretty amazing, because I remember the first time that he asked me to do a recording, I said, yeah, that's great. I had been on the band maybe a little less than a year, so I figure I'm going to the studio and there's going to be guys there recording. So I get there, and it's just me and him. And I'm going, oh, okay. And the way that he worked it and the way that he wanted to do it was he had a piano and a vocal track already down. And I sat there, I plugged my bass into the board in the control room. And I was amazed, because here's Ray with his hand on the tape machine, hand on the mixing board, running up and down the mixing board, overdubbing things. And he would teach me, of course, by rote. He would start in the middle of the tune, and then he'd go, no, let's back this up, let's put another thing on here. And for him, I didn't realize that that's what he did all day long. You know, while we're with the band, we're waiting and everything, he's always away from the band working on music constantly. So we would take maybe 8 hours to do one tune.
Wow.
And he had it perfect, and he would put different bass tracks, and then at the very end, he would have me write out a lead sheet for the rest of the musicians would come in and then do the track over top of that. But just to do many times, to spend just time hanging out. And what he was very much into was, he said, I want you to play strong. Really strong. He was giving part of himself, his strength. But in a sense, what we were doing were just like, you know, two people working on a project and stuff. It was kind of scary at first, obviously.
Yeah.
But those hours really strengthened my playing, and he gave me a lot of confidence and encouragement during that time period.
But let's be clear, he was actually engineering.
Yes, that's the thing. People don't realize what he does. And in the middle of that, we're having talks about how to land a 2-engine plane in a crosswind, and just all the things that we would, amazingly talk about. He's an amazing chess player. He's a killer
Well,
chess
that was going to
player.
be my other question. Did you guys see him play chess?
Yeah, oh yes.
Sure.
Did he play on chess on the bus?
Yeah.
He played everywhere.
Everywhere on the plane. He had a special board where the pieces would stick in, but he had the different colors had like different tops on them. So what he could do, he could feel he felt the whole board and where all the pieces were and everything. I was afraid to play him. I wasn't a good chess player or anything, but some of the guys on the band were always getting beat by him. He was really
And now
special.
you slid by this one quickly. He flew the plane?
Well, he actually didn't fly the plane, but I was on the plane when it crashed. I was on his plane when it crashed.
I mean, now that way, stop, Roger,
Yeah,
stop,
yeah,
stop, because that's a famous thing that happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an.
You were on that plane?
I was on the plane.
Why did you never tell me that?
You didn't ask. But yeah, it was in Indiana. It was in a cornfield in Indiana.
And so it was a landing that didn't go well?
It was a landing that didn't go well at all. We were landing, his plane, if you see that, it was a big 4-engine turboprop Viscount, which was originally a 1960 British airplane. So it's about the size of an old DC-7. And we were coming into a small airport, Bloomington County Airport, came down in a storm. The pilot, there was nobody at the airport, no radar. The pilot came down through the clouds, had already given up half the runway. Got close to the end, started sliding. There was a 50-foot cliff. He realized he was not going to stop. He fired it back up again to try to get back up in the air, and it just kind of wandered for about another quarter mile, and then bam, slammed down in the middle of a cornfield.
My goodness.
It was pretty, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have here history. Did you want to say?
I was going to say something about that, because when I joined the band, that was still something that they talked about a lot.
Yeah.
There were still a handful of members
That
in the
had
band.
been in the crash itself, yeah.
But the funniest part, tell me if this is true, but this is what I was told, that while you guys were all spending like a week in the hospital to make sure that everyone was okay, money was taken out of your paycheck for hotel?
Well, we weren't in the hospital for a week, but what they did was they put us in the hospital, and Joe Adams did charge us that night. Although we were at the hospital for one night's stay, we were all shell-shocked, and they put us on a bus to Washington, D.C. with a driver that was like really jerky. We called him, and he was like, and we were, so every little bump, we were like, it would affect us in that way.
Of course.
But yeah, we were in the hospital. Our clothes were all torn. We put on hospital scrubs. What we all did was go downtown Indiana to celebrate life. The fact is that we had made it through that. So we put on our hospital greens, and people saw, what are those guys walking down the street? We went out to a club and played music all night long to celebrate life after that.
Right. Great thing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're witnessing history. These are the stories that will continue if you come to our concert afterwards. We have a post-concert talk. Sarah will be there, Roger will be there, and you'll get to hear even more of this stuff. I want you to join us January 27th and 28th at the Lincoln Theater with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra. You cannot miss a Columbus Jazz Orchestra concert. We love you, and we'll see you soon.